Good evening, everybody. So, it's a bit of a later start than normal. Oop, turn off the yawns. I haven't got those just yet. So, let's have a look. I did mean to start earlier, but you know how life can be. I was watching something, time got away, looked up, and it's already 8 o'clock. Oh, thank you, Rory. I did get distracted by my old next door neighbour, who has sent me an annoying text. She's really good at that. It seems to be her thing in life is to... She's one of these people who... One of your leaves fell in my garden. Right. And? Yeah. She's that kind of lady, so... I'm not saying that she isn't entitled to show a level of concern, but not this much. To the point, thank you for that, dog. She's actually asked me to basically kill all the plants in my garden. No, love, it's my garden. I want them there. And to be honest, the fact that you don't want them there kind of makes me want them more. Sorry, but... I kind of want them more now. I've always been a bit like that. Oh, you're staring. I'll give you something to stare at. I do appreciate that there are some plants maybe in my garden, so she's moaned about some ivy, that she doesn't want. And that was not the right pinhole for that. Shit. How did I not notice that before? Somewhere around here there needs to be a pinhole. There it is. That's better. So, the old fence that was there, so a new fence went in last year, and it is her fence. And she tried to pressure me into paying for half of it. And I didn't bite. And she was a little bit upset that I didn't bite. Because obviously she only wanted to pay for half the new fence. Because, of course, she doesn't live there. She rents it out, so she's either got really picky renters or she's just trying to keep ahead of them, and so she's been a bit bitchy. But the ivy that was on the fence came from their side of the gun, and a few years ago I never said anything to them, even when it encroached over the fence. And when I say encroached over the fence, it encroached over the fence in like an 8-inch wadge over an entire, probably 60 feet of fence, because it goes from the front to back of my house. And I never moaned to her because, well, it's ivy, it's what ivy does. Anyway, then one day, as I say, a few years ago, I was kind of half sitting outside because, well, you don't sit outside those houses because there's a big fat busy road at the end of it. And she and I could hear I did this kind of noise. And I was like, what the fuck is that? And I kind of went, hello. And the little voice back came, hello. What are you doing? And she went, and this woman, I assume it was her, I'm pulling the ivy off this side of the fence. Oh, okay. So, of course, now the ivy was only on my side of the fence. Because, frankly, if I'd pulled the ivy off, that fence was coming down. Because it had been eaten away a lot by the ivy. And, well, it would have fallen over. So I didn't. I left it. And, of course, the messages started last year. Your ivy, no, love, it was your ivy that grew over my side of the fence. I just chose not to destroy the fence when you did. Because she just pulled it out. She didn't cut it out. She didn't poison it out and let it die. She just ripped. And the noise you could hear was it ripping through the wooden boards, right? So, of course, the fence was fragile. Anyway, she decided that the fence needed to be changed. And that suddenly my ivy was damaging her fence. Well, but a minute ago, love, it was our fence. Anyway, And, you know, I'd like to remind you that I remember you stripping it back, so don't be pretending that this is, this is all my fault. So she got a new fence put in. Fair enough. And, text message this evening. The ivy is growing up the fence. You need to so is vegetation on your side. Stop looking in my garden. I am allowed plants in my garden, you know. And I don't care if you don't like them, but at the same time, you cannot dictate to me unless they're illegal plants, for which we don't exactly have too many illegal plants other than drugs, which I'm definitely not growing. But I would also like to, I would almost partly want to remind her that some of your lovely renters have. Would you like some photos we took a good few years ago of all the weed plants that they were growing in the garden? You know, we didn't dob them in, we didn't complain, we let them to it, you know. So, you know, stop thinking you don't stink, love, you know. And some of the neighbours you've had, some of the renters you've had have been vile people. Some of them were nice, some of them were not. So, she just fills me with dread, so I am a little bit depressed again, as if I wasn't already. Oh, it reminds me, I need to tell my co-worker something. Hang on. Yeah, Liz.x is typing on a phone. Yeah, I just wanted to send that to co-worker. So how's Naughty Kelp? Did you have a good evening? And it's funny you should say Liz.exe has stopped responding. Back in the days of Novell, you used to get messages like, "File, sir." Oh well, nah, haircuts aren't everything. But yeah, back in the day, Novell servers used to send. That doesn't feel right. Something. I feel like I screwed that up somehow. But yeah, you used to get messages like, you know, file server brain not responding, and also, you know, file server Novell 01 is not responding. And I always used to comment, you know, when people kind of stopped and kind of did that constipation look and their brain was clearly thinking, it'd be like file server brain not responding. It's a bit like page 404 not found kind of thing, right? It's the error brain not found, you know, it's kind of, it's a bit of a dated meme, really. But yeah, error Liz.exe has stopped responding. Yeah, Yeah, that's kind of me all over actually at the moment. Yeah, I have a few I have a few errors. Is it 302 permission denied or something? You know, it's, error 500 internal core dump. That's also me sometimes. Maybe I should just respond to my boss in HTML error codes. Maybe that would help. Yeah. I did do a thing today. It was a very small thing. When you're really depressed, small things are big things. Now, I fucked it up, so bear with it. But I transferred the, I glued, more accurately, with the aid of breadstick, I glued the tracing paper of the thing to some brown craft paper, rather than do the whole try and put the dots and you know, try maybe make pinholes through the dots and then try and colour the dots, then laminate it. I decided I'd just glue the tracing paper to it because it's only a little test thing. Only I looked at the piece of paper and I looked carefully and I was really sure I had the back of the paper. No, I didn't. So as you can see, it's spread all the ink around because, of course, ink doesn't dry very well on tracing paper. So, you know, you can see all the swipe marks. So it is not a thing of beauty, but I have pricked holes in it. You can't really see that I've pricked holes in it, but I pricked holes where all the holes should be. So I can now, arguably, set some bobbins up and make that, which would be a thing. So yeah, tomorrow morning, I know you'll appreciate this one, Nautical. My new employer is environmentally friendly, and I don't disagree. But like lots of things, there are things that you can support and get behind, and there are things that, once mandatory, rub you up slightly the wrong way. So, for example, if you work for a living and your employer goes, we're going to donate 2 hours of your wages to some charity, you'd probably feel slightly aggrieved because, well, it's not charity you've chosen. It's 2 hours of your wages that is being taken from you, arguably without your permission. And this still feels wrong. It's not. And so, new company require a minimum 3, preferably 11, days a year but you must spread them over quarters. So basically they want you to do all but one a month of community days. Now, I have no problem with community work. I think it's a valuable thing. I think it's a great thing to do. But I don't like being told I have to do it. It just doesn't sit right. Now, there is more to it than that. On top of that, new employer also has a thing called Wellness Hour. And Wellness Hour is designed that you take an hour. It's in work time. I take an hour in work time. So the community days, by the way. Now, this doesn't feel right. It's not. Something is wrong. I have forbade. Somewhere, that pin there, in fact, I have made a mistake. So, let me package up everybody to go backwards and find out how I did that. Well, you've kind of touched on one of my problems with it. 2, 3, 4, 5, right? So, as I said, I don't have a problem with doing community days. But when it is mandated that you basically have to do community days, takes away the genuine care a little, does it not? Secondly, if you are mandated to do them, and sure, it's during work time, but then don't be complaining that in quarter 4 that you didn't manage to make your targets because you were all too busy friggin', digging Mrs. Biggins' drive, right? So, because guess what? Now, as I say, to an extent, I very much agree with the principle and the premise. Encourage your staff to do good deeds. It is a good and glorious thing to do. I'm not going to deny that because I honestly agree with it to that extent. What I do struggle with is if you consider that there are 12 people on the contract, each having to do a day, a month, in effect. For any given month, you are now losing 12 man days to community work for the client. Now, I know for a fact that client is not aware that for 12 days of the year, each person, and of course it's not necessarily the same day of the year, so randomly, almost like consistently, every other day, someone could be having a day off to go and do digging of Mrs. Biggins' garden. I'm using Mrs. Biggins because A, she doesn't exist, and B, I'm not sure garden digging's technically one of them, but it's a principle, right? So, I find myself then slightly concerned because obviously we all have jobs to do. Quote, nothing was supposed to change. Well, of course it's changed. One day a month, I'm not going to be doing work, am I? I'm going to be doing Mrs. Biggins' garden. And if nothing's to change, well, how can the... Well, exactly, right? If you go and do, let's say you go and dig Mrs. Biggins' garden, you then come back with backache, so now you need a day off because you can't friggin' move. You've been half paralysed by the hard graft from the day before because, she lived in an area that's 99% clay. And again, it's that, I'm sorry, but if the principle is supposed to be that nothing changes, how are you clearing the fact that realistically, let's say we decided to do all 4 days. Well, exactly. But imagine that for sake of the argument, we're going to go and build a garden for the OAP people, right? And we all sod off for 4 days of the same week. Suddenly, there's nobody in the department for basically an entire week. Well, that's going to go down well now, isn't it? And so there is this bit of me that feels just a tad kind of... I'm sorry. This doesn't seem to fit. This feels... But, my new employer is around 350 people, right? Now multiply that up by 12. So you're talking nearly 3 working weeks a year, everybody on top of their holiday is not productive. Then add the 12 wellness hours. Well, that definitely makes it up to 3 weeks. So, that's sealed. Nearly a month of every year, each individual person is unproductive. No, is the short answer to that. But it just, well, to be honest, my autistic brain cell doesn't get it. I get that you want to be seen to be green, but they're a really small company. So it's not like, Microsoft are coming to, your town and they're going to do, spend billions on making you a fancy garden for the OAPs, right? It's a small company no one's ever heard of. And as a result, no one's going to care what they do. Like everything, you shouldn't be in it for the rewards, right? But there's being in it for the rewards, and there's, well, it just doesn't fit. 1, 2, 3. I'm trying to work out how I screwed this up, because technically you should come out 1, 2, 3, 4, and you would go in. Yes, that's where we've gone wrong. So let's put you back. Go on, go in the hole. Thank you. So I don't disagree with it in principle. I really, really don't. I think it's admirable. Lots of companies, the wellness hour thing especially. The wellness hour where if you want to book an hour and go for a walk, they encourage you to do just that. And so I do feel that is a really good thing to encourage for an hour at their expense to, listen to chimes and, meditate or go for a walk or read a book or, try to do something to make you feel better, right? And from that point of view, I think that is a truly admirable thing. And again, it's only for an hour. But over 350 people, that's a lot of hours, right? Because that's 350 man hours a month you are chucking in the bin. Now, it could be for the better for your company. We all know that the 4-day working week keeps getting muttered about and how people are better if they do a 4-day working week. Yeah, no British company's going to buy into that. But, the 4-day working week has been seen to be positive for people because it gives them a bit more balance. 4 days on, 3 days off. It's a bit more balanced. People find that they can do a bit more with it. And so from that point of view, I do get it. And now, you would think, as the employee, being paid not to work would be a bonus. But not everybody. My co-worker that I keep banging on about, he has children with some limitations. It's one more than the other, but both of them have limitations. And one of them, for example, could not go and dig holes in Mrs. Big Sink's garden. She could do something else. So, for example, I can tell you that there are things such as spotting clouds on Mars, which is what her dad did. And he's going to show me where that is, because apparently it works out rather well in our favour. Apparently half an hour of clicking on photographs got him, but it said he'd done 3.5 hours. I'm up for that. But, if it helps, it helps. So, I don't mind. But I do mind that it is mandated. That it's not, should you choose to do them, we allow for you to take up to 11 days a year to do, but it is required, otherwise you don't get your bonus. I'm sorry. That seems a little harsh. So if I work really, really hard, which, you know, and gain you a ton of money, you're telling me that I can't have my bonus because I didn't? Because I didn't clean Mrs. Biggs's garden? Right? So, I do... So, my little autistic brain cell is not happy with this because it is being forced to do it. It's not, we give you the opportunities and here are some things, because one of the other things that is unfortunately true about this antic is that, for sake of the argument, I can't just walk down our local dog shelter and go, hey, I've helped our local dog shelter. Oh, no, no, no. They must be onboarded and vetted and approved and go through some palaver, which means most of these places don't have time for be sorting stuff like that out on the off chance that one day a month some cow's going to turn up to, I don't know, clean out dog poo or something, right? They're just not going to want to go through that level. And so, plus they don't really have anything physical, what a shame, in my area, which is fine. But it also limits then the options that I've got. And... well, I don't really like going out, so, you know, it becomes complicated. But I do feel rather awkward that it is not... We encourage you by allowing you 11 days that you may book on top of your holiday to go and do community service. By the way, you will have to actually prove you went, but, you know, it's not... If you do good, like go down the local soup kitchen or whatever... let us know and, you know, we'll credit you the hours and you can take those hours off later. It's very much, you must do it in work hours, it's got to be people we've approved, and it kind of takes the shine off the job. It's a bit like when you see the videos of people helping people with problems, or, you know, whether it's they're homeless or whatever, but the fact that they videoed it and had to splatter it around the internet kind of takes some of the good and shine out of it, of naturally doing a good deed, because, well, you had to brag about it and show everyone how good you were by broadcasting it. Well, then were you actually doing it because you wanted to do good? I mean... So I need that one. So yes, my dad always had problems with, if you want to do a good deed but you feel you have to publicise it, you weren't doing it for the want of doing a good deed. And he wasn't wrong. I do very much agree that is arguably very, very true, in that if you feel you have to tell everyone how great you are, you're probably not that great in the first place. So I do feel slightly... But of course it is the 31st of January tomorrow. And... Well, I mean, obviously I had December off, so I couldn't really bitch about December. But, well, I really ought to do something for January. So I have to kind of do something. And so tomorrow I've got some training to do on their side of the fence. So I am going to be over there trying to work out how to do some hours to look like I've done my bit. There's some things like, you know, write to your local MP, and I said to my co-worker, but what if the thing that they want you to write to your MP about is something you don't agree with? And he went, use a false email. I am going to see if I can book an hour's, my wellness hour, to learn some new lace thing. I'm not sure that they will count that, but I can only ask, right? So yeah, I don't know. I mean, as I say, it's not that I disagree with it. I just don't like being forced into you must or else, you know? Especially as I don't believe my actual contract says that they can make me do that. But of course, that is their rules about the bonus system. But my contract can't include that because it was not in my old contract. So, not sure legally how well I stand on that one. My manager asked me this morning, what could he do to help me with my depression? I couldn't answer the question with a straight face. So I jokingly said, help me retire. And then kind of went, the answer is technically yes, you can help, but practically no, I don't think you can. Because yes, there's lots of things you could do, mate, but you're not going to do them. So I'm not even going to ask. I'm not going to waste my breath. I'm pretty sure he'd be annoyed to hear that I feel that way, but I also know that the things that I would cite that would help, he definitely wouldn't do. So that's never going to happen. So not in a month of Sundays. Right on Twitch ads, you do your thing. Naughty Cow and I will stay doing our thing. I spent ages putting pins in Hedgie today. God, it took forever. It really does take a long time to fill Hedgie up. To the level of density that I do fill up Hedgie so that I've got plenty of pins to hand. I mean, you can't really see him very well. But if I bring him up, you can see I've rather densely filled him full of pins. And it does take a really frigging long time. But of course, because it's not on stream, and it makes the whole pinning process quicker, it does help in the actual once you're all set up kind of thing. But I'm not sure that it's actually quicker, because of course, stabbing all the pins in Hedgie, probably takes as long as it used to, fumbling around and stabbing. The only thing I do find is that I don't tend to stab myself as much when taking pins from Hedgie. I clearly, I mean, I've said a lot, there's been a lot less blood. So from that point of view, it is a good thing. I still occasionally pick up a couple at the same time, but right, I'm listening to something and he just said one of my favourite games and I'm trying to work out why. Everyone's saying EverQuest. EverQuest. It seems to be what older games are still going, producing new content more than once a year, and the answer is definitely EverQuest. Originally they used to do like one thing a year, then it became twice a year, then it was more like 3 times a year, and of course one of the things that need to go on a bit of a rant with this one, I guess. It's a ranty day, but one thing I do find slightly insulting is you have a paid subscription game, so you must pay £10 a month or whatever to play said game each month. On top of that, then every 4 months when they come out with or 3 months or whatever it is, when they come out with a new new thing, well, now you need to spend 40, 50 quid buying the new thing. But you're still paying the £10 a month as well. I kind of feel that if you buy a game and they add to it, if you're paying a subscription, it should include the new content. If you're not paying a subscription, then yes, the 50 quid for new game and playing it for a few months and is included in the price of the thing. Now, it wouldn't be so bad if when you paid for the expansion that you got credited a couple of months, or so at least some of it went towards the ability to play the game for a couple of months. But it doesn't. And I've always felt this, is that if you've got a game and you're doing a subscription, you have a choice. You either have a game, you do a subscription, and that's it. You charge enough for the subscription that will cover the cost of the expansions while they're playing. Or you charge for the new content and don't have a subscription. You don't do both. That's kind of greedy. It's worse than taxing your money twice, right? Now, yes, it's very common that games do that, but it doesn't make it right. It feels immoral. So one of the games that I am looking at, or one of the games that I love dearly, which isn't even in early access yet. I have done many playtests. I think I've done 5 now. And I do love it. I do love it a lot. Is Monsters and Memories. And Monsters and Memories is an old MMO, well, an old style MMO game. It's not an old game because clearly they're still making it. But it is done in the old style of MMOs where life is a little bit hard. Well, hello, it is. But they are talking of a subscription, but the game itself would be free. And I'm cool with that, because that to me feels like a really valid option. Now, another game that is supposedly of the same era is Pantheon. But Pantheon took the other option. M&M have not taken people's money yet. I've been following it for a year. I did play tests last December and, well, for over a year now, because, pre-December 2023, 2023, I did a playtest for M&M, and I frigging loved it. It was not the first playtest I did, but it was, one of the first ones that I played quite seriously. I put a lot of time and effort into it because they did like a 48-hour thing or something. Anyway, I really enjoy how it feels as a game. Pantheon, 10 years ago, heralded itself as EverQuest, what it should have, what EverQuest Next should have been, and wanted to basically be what the next version of EverQuest should have turned out like. Now, I dabble with Unity, you know this, because I've shown you the very ugly animation that I'm making, that at some point I will do some more of next, and it will be... Ooh, I didn't do the thing. Hang on, didn't do the thing. Didn't do the thing. So, there are... But 10 years ago, they were going, they had lots to show us. There was a YouTube channel, and you can, and it had lots of videos of playtests of the devs and some very celebrated VIPs who'd obviously paid them a lot of money. And because I paid them plenty of money and nowhere near. And anyway, they had a really playable game 10 years ago. We all thought that, not that it was imminent, but it was very much on the way. It kind of went quiet for 8-9 years. And we all assumed, I think everyone assumed, it was dead. It was not. But it wasn't exactly doing something either. Then the main guy who was kind of running it died. Died young, very unfortunate, very tragic, but he died. And the moment he died, everyone in the company seemed to go, oh, thank God for that. We didn't want to do it this way. We're going to start again. So they did, after like 9 years of development. And what they have... Sorry, it's gone quiet. Why is it gone quiet? Oh, he's wandered off, that's why. After 9 years of development, if I told you that in December 2023, around the same time, I logged in to Pantheon and I saw something akin to something that would take me about a week to make. And this was after probably 12 years of development. Now, yes, apparently they decided that they couldn't maintain the graphics that they had before and they had to start again. But, well, it looks like you threw out literally everything, including the code, not just the graphics. Because, well, it's shit, frankly, in my opinion. It doesn't hold me. It feels really bad. I mean, there's a guy you meet by a well. He has a load of the quests for when you start to try and encourage you around the game. For the first 6 months, there's a thing called Z fighting. It's Z fighting. We're British, but they call it Z fighting, which is where two textures are occupying the same space, and basically it flip-flops between them because it can't decide which one should be on top. So it flickers. His arms did this for 6 months. As you ran, your head came out the back of your headpiece. So if you had like a cloth kind of hoodie on, for want of a better word, your head came out the back of your hoodie. Your arms went through your gloves as you moved. It was, all of this kind of stuff. 6 months of it. And everything they've done to it doesn't make it better. Seems to make it worse. Now, how they have had, when we finally got in, there only seemed to be one zone. One. And it was an okay size, don't get me wrong. But I was wandering around and I ran to a bit where they hadn't built it yet. There's like half the zone where they haven't built it yet. It's literally absolutely empty. Not quite sure what was happening there, but it was completely empty. And a lot of the quests didn't work, a lot of the crafting didn't work, and it truly really felt like a week's worth of work. It was like a couple of interns sat down for a week. The user interface was but ugly. I mean, don't get me wrong, so mine, but it almost had no redeeming quality. And it was up for a bit and then down for a bit. And bear in mind, I need to point out, I paid, sit down, about 550 quid towards this because, and only because, at the time I paid it, the game they showed was really, borderline half finished. Well, it was more than half finished. It looked great. It looked like everything I ever wanted in a game. But they've thrown all that in the bin. And of course, they're now doing, you can now try Pantheon on Steam. You pay $40. You can... But it's shit. Now, if I only paid $40 for it, there are people on there on Steam who have said it's not worth $40. Well, imagine how I feel, right? I've waited 10 plus years for this because I joined in a little later on it. I've waited over 10 years. And it looks like a template. There's a template I've got. I don't think it cost me any money from the Unity store. It's almost identical. It's got all the questing, it's got crafting, it's got races and factions and quests, and if I threw up that template, it was kind of the same level. So, it can be a little hard. It can be a little bit hard because you're sitting there going, and I think it's always been true. If you pay £1 for something and it's a bit disappointing, you don't necessarily feel shat on because you paid £1 for it. If you pay £100 for it, you're expecting it to be okay. If you pay £1,000 for it, it better be good. It's that kind of thing. So I can tell you now, they were still asking me to pay more. They were still asking me to pay more money. Oh, because of course they've already spent it. Yeah, well, whose fault's that? You wasted it by throwing away, probably at the time, nearly 10 years worth of development. You chose to throw that in the bin. No one made you. You made really bad business decisions. Why in hell would I ever give you another penny of my money? Whereas the Monsters Memory team are refusing money. People want to give them money and they say no. Can we pay towards? No. They have done all of their development so far absolutely without payment. Every playtest. Yes, some of them have been a bit rough at the edges because they were testing something and, well, the test was a bit of a fail. But that's exactly what they needed it for. They are very upfront. They are doing a lot of their development on screen. Many of the team stream, and you can watch them building things. So that Zukin Scripps, who comes in here, he's one of them. He does some of their he does models and things. He's an artist, right? There's a guy called Paddus the Ranger. He makes some of their zones. Now, there's another guy, don't particularly like him too much, but they've got a couple of other artists. They've got a guy called Goblin. Goblin's great. He's wonderful. He's also an artist. He does models and art and things. They've got another scene designer, but I don't think he streams. But, the overall bossish guy, he streams a couple of times a week. And he can be seen wandering around and looking at things and finding bugs and reporting things and talking to people and getting feedback. And they listen to things you say. He's done quite a few kind of bouncing ideas around, what would you guys think about this? How do you think about that? And they were in one zone one day and there was like this kind of cliff with windy path up it sort of thing. And there are mobs who live on it. And I said, well, it'd be really good, because it was kind of like a dead end, if there was a pile of bodies on the floor, bones and bits for all the people they've chucked off. And he was like, that's a great idea. They're really open to ideas. They're really involving. They're happy to hear from you. They will answer your stupid questions, right? I mean, I'm not saying please all go and pound the crap out of them and ask them a billion questions, but you can ask them silly things like, so, how did you do that? Because they'll do something and you go, I've never seen that done. How did you do that? And quite often, they'll explain it. And so, they're really lovely people, and I will stand behind them for, unless they do something really crappity, I have no reason not to stand behind them. I'm standing here almost like waving wad of money going, take my money. Because I want to encourage them. Because for the exact reason of, they've not asked for my money. They're not demanding like nearly every other game. I mean, over the years, I've backed a few games, some lesser, some greater. And so many of them started out great, turned shit. But nearly all of them were ungrateful. No one was grateful for your money. I need to be careful, because Shroud of the Avatar, I had a lot of love for Shroud of the Avatar when I first started. And the guy who currently runs it was not in control at the time it all went really wrong. So I want to make that clear. But when Shroud of the Avatar started, it was run by two people who I have no respect for whatsoever. Sorry, Lord British and Star, but I don't. And Lord British was one of the makers of Ultima Online and loves himself. And Star is, I don't know what he ever did before, but he very much comes over as a lovey's darling, right? And I have no problem with that. But they used to do quarterly telethons where the whole team would stay up for like 24 hours, being online, doing stupid things. They'd get a bit drunk, they'd do some things, they had like a money store where you could buy things, and they'd had like a whirly wheel thing, so they'd spin the wheel and 20% off houses, right? So that would be it, and that was your one chance to buy a house for reasonable money. And everyone did that, and they every time they did it, they got about $100,000. It's not small money, really. Now, I do appreciate if you've got a big enough team, that doesn't go very far, especially with the amount Americans seem to play their developers. That really doesn't go very far at all. But, again, think about it. Monsters and Memories are not paying their people. They're all doing it out of their spare time for the love of the game. Whereas Monsters and Memories, I remember at one point, they used to have a counter on the front of their website that included the amount of money they'd had. So they did a Kickstarter, and then they'd do these telethons, plus they'd have the money from the money transaction site, which they used to fund the work. They got up to around 20 million. That's not a 20 million pounds worth of game. And it was quite sad, because when it started, it was rough. It had, it could do with some polish, but the principle wasn't bad. But due to whiny people, I don't like the fact that there's a death penalty. Well, you died, dude. There should be a penalty. You should feel it. You died, dude. And so with all of that, they pandered to a lot of it, and like a lot of things, I think they pandered to some of the bigger guilds because oh, we've paid you more money, and they pandered to them, and the game turned from being a really promising, fun game to dull, repetitive. It was designed around certain people. And, I mean, it's still out there today. It's still being run. It's still being updated. And technically, I've still got a number of accounts. I do. And I own a village. Believe me, if I tell you, sit down, the village that I own cost about £7,500 in total. I didn't pay it in one lump, but to get it to the size and what it is, it cost about £7,500. And it was around then that it really turned to poo. I finally got my village. I was really, really happy with it. And then, well, it went a bit south. And they introduced a zone, and no one else seemed to do anything else. You literally, all the groups would be in there. And instead of people slowly grinding away and, living life and doing all the good things, you get these people, they'd be in the game less than 24 hours. They'd have a high-level character because you were getting over 1 million XP an hour in this zone. So that's all they'd do because everywhere else didn't match up to it. So yeah. They do parties. They do like release parties, and they do parties on people's birthdays in the team. And Lord British and staff seem to kind of pull out, except they haven't, because they still do the birthdays, they still rock up for stuff, but they're also flogged their company to somebody else. So it just feels weird to me now, and it's a shame. It really is. Yeah. Which is a shame. So, yet another MMO, and backing bites the dust. So, having been bitten a few times, I am reluctant, and that's one of the things I like about M&M, is the fact that that's exactly what they're not doing. They're not there cap in hand of, oh, woe is me, I need more money. They don't want your money. The boss guy actually has demonetized his channel because he doesn't need the hassle. He doesn't need the hassle of having to, claim it as business income. So he's demonetized it. and you have to, you have to feel for the guy in the sense of, he does this as his full-time job. I don't believe he does anything else. Most of the others have day jobs, shall we call it. Padas seems to be a game designer lecturer kind of thing at a college stroke university. So they've all got jobs. So they do it in their spare time. And I really respect that. So, with that in mind, the fact that they're all doing it because they love the game, the idea, they want to help, yes, some of them have monetized channels, but, they're not expecting people to drop, they're not expecting, 10,000 people to show up and pay them more money. It's more a case of, maybe they can buy a beer at the end of the month. And I think that is such a refreshing change in this day and age, that everyone's not out there for the money, that these guys are different. So I don't know what kind of games people play, because most of us play some form of game. To be honest, the games I play currently the most, I played a fair bit of PoE 2, but I'm getting a bit bored of it because there's only a handful of classes and a handful of the skills are set up, and it is lacking. I mean, I also suck at it, which is part of the problem. I really suck at it. But PoE 2, they've only done like half the characters, so they've done half the skills, half the acts of, so half, it's like a third of the stories. It is kind of lacking, but it's also early access, and I don't want to play it too much because A, it's changing, but B, it's not the whole thing. It's not all there, so I do kind of need to back off that a bit. But I do enjoy it. It is fun. Or at least it can be fun. It can also be infuriating when you melt every mob, you find the boss, and it just spits on you and you're dead. And you're like... Sometimes I find that it's not a natural progression in that, you start off at like level 1, and by the time you get to the end of that zone, you're level 5, and level 5 is suitable for the boss, right? If you have to be level 10 to do the boss, well, you've got 5 levels of spitting around doing nothing, and that can get a little bit... It's where it kind of starts getting frustrating, because... And I think we all do a bit of that. You kind of burn out on them a bit. And, I mean, I played EverQuest for nearly 20 years. And when I say I played EverQuest, I'm talking every waking moment that I could. I'm talking, if I was on holiday, I was doing 20-hour days on EverQuest, right? I barely slept. I almost sat on a bucket so that I didn't have to waste time going to the loo. No, I didn't actually do that. But, it was a thought that went through my mind at one point. Because, well, if I didn't have to stop to go for a pee, it would be a lot quicker, right? I played that for 20 years. And do you know what actually stopped me? Well, originally I tried to stop and do a bit of crochet. And I did sort of cut back to a, let's call it, realistic amount. But it didn't really last. EverQuest was calling. And when I became single, well, there was no one there to nag me now, was there? So, I was really into EverQuest, but I had a bit of a problem at one point when I was feeling really, really broke, as we can all be inclined to do from time to time. The seasons aligned and I was really broke, so I cancelled my subscriptions to EverQuest because I honestly couldn't afford them. I had something like 6 accounts, and I could not afford the best part of £3,600 a year for my accounts. I needed that for other things, so I cancelled it because I used to pay yearly as it was the cheapest way to pay. They were due for renewal in the next couple of months, and I was brass to hell So I said, I cannot afford to lose that right now. I'll cancel them. So I went into each account, cancelled the payment, and it was like, got the emails, sorry to see you go, to confirm you have cancelled your subscription. You will not be charged the next time it came round. And when the time came, they took the money anyway. And I wrote to them, and they wrote back with, oh, well, never mind, no refunds. No, you confirmed you'd cancelled it, you took my money without permission, and... oh, well, never mind, no refunds. So I went to the credit card and went, yo, and I forwarded them my email. I showed them the cancellation email from 2 months before, and then the sorry, no refunds, so they took the money back. So EverQuest took my accounts and closed them down, marked them as fraud, and wouldn't give me them back. So I lost 20 years worth of playing. And you know what? That done half take the shine off a game. And so, I want to be in EverQuest. I still, to this day, want to be in a... This is why I like Monsters and Memories, because it has a feel to it. The guy who runs it used to work for EverQuest. So it has a feel to it that I like. And to be honest, should Monsters and Memories be a 24/7 thing, I could have a problem. It's a bit like being an alcoholic and then being given a free litre of wine. I will have a problem. The day they launch those servers on a perpetual basis, I will have a problem. But I can't bring myself to play EverQuest anymore. I do have an account. I did make an account. I've got a perpetual account. They did an offer for not too much money, but enough. An account that you never have to pay again. So that's what I did. So I do have those. I've got 2, actually. But I occasionally, I'm talking like once every couple of years, go and scratch a bit of an itch and see what's going on. But of course, like I said earlier, you still have to pay for all the expansions. So when I go to scratch my itch, I can't access any of the new content. I still would have to buy the latest expansion. Now, the only thing I will say about them is that, let's say I've missed out on 6 expansions. I do not need to pay for 6 expansions to enjoy all the content. You only need to buy the last one, and it comes with all of its predecessors for free. But you still need to, but of course, each time they come out, if you want to play with it right there, right now, you have to buy it right there, right now. So, they're getting people to pay $40, $50 every 3-4 months for an expansion, which is usually 2 zones, a couple of levels, and a handful of spells, and a couple of new mob types. The shine has gone. And it's horrible. It's horrible to... It's like losing the love of your life, in a way. Because I really enjoyed my time in there. But you can't do that. You can't lie to a customer, confirm that they've cancelled their stuff, and then when you refuse to do a refund because you're wrong, take away everything they worked for because you're wrong and sulk. Which is what they did. So yeah, that was somewhat disappointing. No one I know plays anymore, so I logged into the server that I used to play on, had a look round, not one single person I recognised. One of the guilds that I used to hang out with, although I was not part of it, I asked if certain people, and they were like, who are they? It's only been 6 months, dude. Really? They must have gone about the same time I did. I always wondered what happened to them. I do wonder what happened to them, but... where these people went, but... I wonder... I'm not going to say they left because I left, because I'm not that stupid, but, obviously, there was something in the air kind of thing. And it was the time, and we all went. So in some ways that made it a lot easier not to get sucked back in, because the people that you used to chat to and the people you used to see about aren't there anymore. So you're not drawn into the conversations. You're not, oh, Liz, come do this with us. Come do this with us. None of that. You log in. No one says hello to you. You're talking. Yeah, I mean, I've got a fat PC here. I really do have a fat PC here. This one wasn't as bad, but 10 years ago, as it turns out, it's about 10 years ago now, I bought a fat gaming PC. I did exactly the same beginning of last year, because work gave us a bonus and I blew my bonus on a new PC, right? So I have a fat PC, so I can play anything I want. I've got an Intel 14K, I've got 64 gig of memory, I've got a 4TB disc, high-speed disc because I changed it. It wasn't a slouch disc the first time round, but I got an even faster one now. And I've got a 40... Is it a 4090 or a 4080? Anyway, I've got a pretty frigging rad, graphics card. But this is what I did last time. I bought the best I could afford at the time. Well, the best. Basically, I bought the best I could, right? I'm not going to say the best that I could afford because there isn't a lot better, but I can also point you to one. You say that. Naughty Cow, I can point you to laptops on Amazon that are less than £500 that piss on my old gaming machine. And it was quite upsetting, actually. So, I bought a laptop. I think I paid 350 quid for it. It might even have been less, right? And I bought it so that I had a machine in here that I could dick with. Because I really had gone off my computer. I hadn't turned it on for months. I was not using it. I was doing other things. I was doing crafty things. But I was getting a bit itchy to do something and play with things and get back into doing some Unity and playing around and writing a thing for that. And I was getting a bit itchy, so I bought a laptop. And I put Unity on it. Now, Unity, obviously as a gaming engine, is highly graphical. Plus, of course, it's got the development background behind it. So it's not, if you write a game on it, well, it's the game plus the engine on top. So you need a bit of grunt. And it really wasn't that painful. And so I was quite happy with it. And then I thought, well, it's a shitty little laptop. I mean, it only costs 300 something quid. There was a bit of a problem with the disc. I probably should have done more about it at the time, but it would have meant a lot of hassle. In the disc used to reset itself, so the whole machine would freeze for a couple of seconds, and it did get a little bit annoying. So I thought, screw it, I'll go and get my old machine, and I'll bring it in here, and I'll plug it all together. So I did. Now, my old machine was a state-of-the-art Alienware machine with, as it turned out, dual 1080 Ti's. Now, obviously, today, 1080s aren't worth, are almost doorstops. But when I bought them, they were the best thing in the universe, and I had 2 of them. That laptop pissed over that machine. That machine cost me, at the time I bought it, £6,500. My 350 quid laptop that I'd bought, even with the disc farts, pissed all over it. It was faster. And I was a little bit upset by that, because, well, it was only a couple of years out of support. They hadn't allowed me to extend it, because, we don't make that no more, which was slightly irritating, because, of course, you're supposed to be able to extend it. And they didn't tell me it was running out, and if I'd known before it had run out to extend it, they wouldn't have had a choice. But because it had run out, they wouldn't let me renew it because, well, it had run out and they didn't want to support it anymore. And it was about then that I thought, I really ought to buy a new machine. So I ummed and ahed because I'd always sworn I'd never buy another Alienware machine after I had issues with their laptops. and I burnt through a couple. I don't know how. I didn't do anything special, but I burnt through laptops. Anyway, but when I was told last year that I would be getting a really hefty bonus, I decided last year I'll blow it on a machine. So I did. And I bought my little beast, who sits, well, just over there actually. And you know, I paid for support, so it cost more than it would have done. But I paid for the visit your house and fix it shit because, well, I mean, I can fix it. I know how to fix it, but I don't want the hassle, right? I mean, I can upgrade it. I know how to build PCs. I used to, but I just can't be bothered. So I tend to buy them now. So I bought this thing, and I don't regret it because I've had a lot of use out of it. I had to buy a table. You can't really see it, but the corner of the table is just here. In fact, if I do this, you can see, look, the corner of my table just here. I had to buy a table to put the monitor on. I've got a big 34-inch monitor. And then I needed a keyboard rack to put the keyboard on because I didn't like the height of the table. I wanted, you know, I wanted the keyboard lower, blah, 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 blah. So I've got a keyboard rack on it. And I went through a number of tables because a lot of the tables were just shit. They come with brakes. Now, the brakes you'd think would be a good thing. Well, they are, except for the fact that depending on which direction you roll the wheels in, the brakes turn on automatically, which is really irritating. So I finally ended up buying this table, which was a bit more expensive than I wanted, but I was getting through one of the shitty tables about every couple of months. It would break because the brakes would lock up. The stress of me pushing it against the brakes and the brakes locking inevitably used to rip them apart. The welding would come undone, the wood would flake because it was only made out of chipboard, so the things would just rip out, and thank you for that. And of course the wheels would stick, and no matter what I did to them, I couldn't get the brakes not to kick in. And so I tried everything. I super glued them, and of course that didn't help their lifespan. I literally tried everything. This one doesn't have brakes, and I've had this table for 18 months now, and it is still as good as the day I bought it. It's got a hydraulic thing on it, so even with my big friggin' monitor on it and a pile of shit on the surface, you do not need to see the surface of this table. It's got everything I use on a daily basis on it. It's got a little hand clamp. You pull the hand clamp, and it will just lift up. And if you want to push it down, you don't have to push very hard, and it will go down, right? It is a hospital overbed table. The only thing that would have been nicer is if the feet on it are in a C shape, and, well, technically it's that way around because the pillar's this side, it's on my left. I would ideally wanted the pillar shape on my right. And I can almost hear you going, well, turn it round then, you silly cow. It's not quite that simple. But I do love this table. This table was a good buy. I wholly recommend if you need a wheelie table that you can adjust the height of while it's fully laden, this is your table. It's got decent wheels on it. They've never jammed. And as I say, with dog hair and annoyances and pins that make leaps for freedom, it's still never jammed. This thing is a thing of beauty. I mean, if I didn't have monitors on it, I'd have this on it. But, well, I got monitor and keyboard and mouse and a pile of shit. And, yeah. There is no... It's not really deep enough for this. I mean, I'd say, at a quick guess, I'd say it's 16 inches top. But it is a very lovely table. It didn't have great reviews, but most of that was from people who didn't understand how to put it together. It's really not that hard. The C-shaped base comes pre-made. All you have to do is put the upright in, and of course be careful of the hydraulics, because if you release that you could punch yourself in the face with it, and given that it's got a little spiky thing on top, probably take out an eye or even kill yourself with it. So, you know, you have to be careful with it. But the only thing that was slightly complicated was lining it up so you could screw it into the base, because it's not flush with the edge, right? So you had to kind of balance it on a couple of things to really do it. So yeah, that was the... And it is really freaking heavy, by the way, because, well, it's hydraulic and it's big. So, because it's a big beefy thing. So, because it will lift many kilos without too much, without breaking a sweat. It really is quite a hefty thing. So, well, it weighs a few at the same time. And so I have spent a fair bit of money on my setup here, but I also work here. So during the day, part of the reason I cover this up is because this is where I put my wet laptop. But I also work here, so I would move the keyboard onto the top of the table, and I used to put my laptop on the keyboard thing and work from there. So, until I started doing this, where this is actually a better height for it, for me. And so I do that now, which is why I always make sure the front's kind of empty, so there's room for my laptop. But it's, I can sit here, and it also means I can run my machine during the day and my work machine, so I can put music or an audio book or Google some things, or, mooch on Amazon without the fear of work moaning that I've mooched on Amazon. Not that I mooch on Amazon, because, well, I do mooch on Amazon, but not generally during the day. I do that on my phone. But it does mean that, should I want to Google something, I won't say less safe for work, because I'm not interested in that. But, in principle, I can look up things that aren't work-related or whatever, and, kind of be safe that work are not aware of what I'm doing, because it's not on their equipment. And it's not that I'm trying to hide it from them, but, if I'm Googling something, that I've suddenly thought of, like, what were the lyrics to that song that's just popped in my head, I don't need to be doing it on my work machine and have them accusing me of wasting work's time and effort, and how dare you be Googling that, and, all of those kinds of things. So, because, of course, no, my luck, it'll come back with something incredibly rude and they'll be highly offended. Bit like the time... One thing I will say, as you're a dog owner, if you're ever on a work machine, do not search on Amazon for dog muzzles. I've never been so embarrassed in my life, because I didn't know Amazon sold that kind of stuff, but apparently they do. And apparently human muzzles are a thing on Amazon. Yeah, I mean, I knew Amazon sold everything pretty much, but I really didn't know they sold that too. Yeah, they do. And those, and that, and all the other things that you might think could go with it. Yeah, slightly red-faced, and much to the amusement of the guy sitting next to me, who laughed himself. I'm sure if you asked him and said, do you remember when Liz searched... Oh, he would just start laughing. I wonder what happened to him too, but... yeah, there are things not to Google, and lyrics can be one of them. But, well, yeah, there is that. But as I say, do not search on Amazon for dog muzzles. You may be slightly caught off guard, like I was. Because, of course, one of the things that I find... There is one thing I, probably shouldn't really, but ranting a little bit on Amazon. I love Amazon. I buy quite a bit of Amazon stuff because they're really convenient, because, well, they bring it to your house. Hence, today I now have Pritt Stick because, well... Oh, I also got this. Now, I got this. Now, this I need to test, but I got this because... Now, it's got a very different tube to it did when we were children, because they had metal tubes when we were kids. But this is fabric glue that is soft, strong, waterproof. Basically, I should be able to use it to glue the ends, and it won't be hard and crunchy like the super glue. My mother had this shit. She says go to stick some on her finger, because, I'm a child. I'm a child of the 80s. How do you test shit? You either eat it or stick it to yourself, right? It's got a nice, interesting method of doing the glue. You know how, like, quite often you end up putting a pin in the glue? It's got a little metal tip to it to make it easier to clean. And it's got a little metal pin that fits down the metal tip to stop it doing that. So I've now got some glue on my fingers. It's sticky, but not horrendously sticky. Yeah, it's slightly rubbery. So that this could be, because my mother used to have this. Now it used to come in with a big wide end, a bit like this, but with like teeth on the end, so you could scrape through it to help push it through the glue. And if I pull out the other one, it comes with a glue smearer. So I mean, obviously I don't need a glue smearer for what I'm doing, but it's got a really fine little hole point on the end, so there is hope. And I'm going to try that on something. So when I finish this, I will this to it to see how it goes. So this is definitely going to happen. I just need to wind a shitload of bobbins now. So, which takes some time, as we know. But it also means I get to play with my new bobbins, which will be fun. That's right. I was just checking where I'd gone because I looked and I suddenly remembered I moved them. Where did I move them to? But I've seen them. That's fine. So yes, I you know, we're all quite good at worrying about things. So I've got some new glue, which nice Mr. Amazon man bought me today. So I buy a lot of things from Amazon because, well, they come and they do food and snacks and dog things, and I love Amazon. But there are some things about Amazon that I really would like to change. I used to love Amazon Prime. I'm not so fond of it now. Before Amazon Prime merged the requirement of Amazon Video, when it was Love Video or whatever it was. Before then, when you paid 30 quid for next day delivery, and it was next day delivery, I liked Amazon Prime. Now you have to pay best part of £100, and it includes Amazon Video, but 90% of Amazon Video that you actually wanted to watch, you have to pay on top of. Amazon Video also now require you to pay basically £4 a month if you don't want to be inundated with adverts, on top of the money you've already paid. It's a bit like the games, really. So you've made me pay a subscription, and now you want me to pay even more than my subscription to not screw me over. So I do struggle a little bit with that, because I feel slightly cheated that you've already taken like 100 quid of my money, and yet this is not enough for you. So now you need me to pay more so that I can now watch the thing that I've already paid for without adverts in it, except for the fact that it's now full of your adverts for other things that you have, and I still don't want to see. Because obviously, you know, they'll put in adverts for series they're running or whatever, and it's like, I said, I paid £4 a month for no adverts on top of my 100 quid. So, you know, you're getting the best part of, 200 quid out of me. Do you mind not showing me the adverts now? I don't tend to watch. I go through spates. There might be something on Amazon I'll watch, and then there won't be for a while. One of my dirty little deals is I really like disaster movies. The shitter the disaster movie, the better. I have seen them all. My personal favourites are earthquakes and volcanoes, but disaster movies. I really am up for a good disaster movie because, and I rewatched Volcano, the one with Tommy Lee Jones in it this morning. Well, I say watched, I had it on. I wasn't watching it, I was in meetings, but vaguely watching it out the corner of my eye, because of course I've seen it. But I ones where things like the world stopped turning, we have to go in the magma and save the day. Yeah, really. Okay, good luck with that, Oh, the magnetic field from the Earth has failed. That'll be freaking interesting. You know, I'm all up for all of those. It's a bit like Sharknado, you know, in the terms of, you know, it's so shit it's funny. I like that kind of movie. The only movie I can't stand is A Quiet Place. I really hate that film. And A Quiet Place 2, obviously, because that's, well, the first one was bad and then they made another one. Jesus. I think there's actually a third one now. God help us all. I do know someone who likes that movie. I do not understand them. And they find it funny. Because I will literally watch the shittest movie and be quite happy about it. But I can't bring myself to watch that. It was just too bad for me. And they love it. And it's like, how can you love it? But never mind. So yeah, it's the only thing I really regret for Amazon is that, you know, after paying all that money, Prime delivery is no longer next day. It is free delivery, but as a very sensible co-worker pointed out, generally if you spent more than 20 quid, it's free delivery anyway. And there is a real serious part of me going, so why am I paying for Prime? Because, you know, these days, stuff's more expensive, so you're not buying things for £1 anymore. Well, it's really hard. It's really easy to have over 20 quid's worth of stuff to deliver, and then, well, it'll be free delivery anyway. So why am I paying you 100 quid a year for stuff I'm going to use anyway, that I could get free delivery on anyway? And as I say, it's not next day. Round here, we do not get the same day. God help us, if we can't get next day, what makes you think we're going to get same day? Now, obviously, same day is a paid for service, but even if I really, really wanted it, and I ordered it at 7 in the morning, well, yeah, you know, it's an unusual situation usually. I mean, if I order something and it's not what I wanted, I usually keep that to myself because it's my own fault for not making sure it was what I wanted. There's only been a couple of times I've needed to return something to Amazon because it flat was either proper broken or it was just so shit that, you know, frankly, you know, I'm sorry, but just no. But returning stuff around here is a pain in the butt. You know, on a lot of occasions, the Amazon return service, you go to the petrol station up the road, and they go, "Oh well, all the terminals in your county are down." I am not driving halfway around the fucking country to return a shitty thing. As I say, if I've ordered something and it's not quite what I wanted, well, you know, buyer beware, right? If it meets the description on the website, but it was a little vague, and the vague area meant that it is really no longer appropriate for what I wanted it for, well, that I'll take it on the chin, unless it was hyper expensive. I'll take it on the chin and be just disappointed. So, for example, I bought a mattress topper, and it said the mattress topper was 6 inches deep, and I thought that would be great, because, you know, I'm a bit of an old fart, and when you get old, I'm sure everyone will know that there is a bit of a meme, but when you get old, you no longer lie down, go to sleep, and wake up like 10 hours later. You rotate like a rotisserie chicken all night, because otherwise your shoulder or your hip hurts, right? So I thought 6 inches of fluff underneath would really help with that. It's not even 6 centimetres, dude. Ouch. You see, that kind of stuff, I mean, at least you can still trim your hedge with it. But stuff like that, when it is blatantly not what it said, my co-worker, let's say for sake of the argument, we'll pick on these glue, because I got 2 tubes of glue, right? And that's exactly what I expected, so I'm cool with that. But he bought something, and it was something I'd bought before, or at least I bought the same product, just not maybe. He bought a 6-pack of them, and the picture on Amazon was a 6-pack. It mentioned in the title, this is a 6-pack. And he got 1. he got 1 tin, right? And he had a bit of a fight because obviously, oh, well, it's just a pincher. Yeah, but you're selling it as 6 times this. You specifically state in it, it says 6 times 100ml, and you've sent 100ml. And so there was that. I had one, try not to laugh, M&M's. I bought a big bag of M&M's because M&M's do... Was it M&M's or Skittles? Skittles. Skittles do, as for those who have a sweet tooth, Skittles generically are a kind of a slightly chewy middle with a hard sugar coating. They do a shellless one that is, well, not covered in hard sugar. And I really quite like them. And there was a thing on Facebook, and it was like 200 grams of shellless Skittles for, I don't know, let's say £3, right? So I bought a couple of packets. The packets were half size. Now, they were the shellless Skittles, and when I challenged the seller, they went, oh, they don't make them in that size no more. Then stop advertising and charging for twice as many Skittles as you're actually going to send me. Oh, well, you can send them back. No, I just want the Skittles I'm missing. I want the Skittles, otherwise I wouldn't have bought Skittles. So I do feel a little, you know, there are times like that you can feel a slightly put out. My ex-husband has the jammiest frigging deals with Amazon. So he'll order something and it can be really expensive. And it'll arrive and it will be not what he expected. He'll then want to return it and they go, oh, no, that's okay, you can keep it. And when I say not expensive, I'm talking like £600 worth of cameras, right? Because he bought some like CCTV style. Excuse me, let me go on. My body's trying to kill me. My windpipe decided to stick together. Send some Coke down to cheer it up. Yeah, that'll help. But no, it's thinking about it. Let's try that again. That's okay. You should do that. Doggies need feeding. But yeah, he bought these cameras, and basically while they are cameras, they didn't do what he expected them to do, which was to, alert him and all the rest of it. Basically, if he wanted to catch something, he almost had to be watching it to catch it. And he said to Amazon, don't want it. And they said, yeah, no worries. We'll send a man to come and collect it. Now, I never seem to get the come and collect it option. I always have to go to the petrol station to return it. Or some other vendor, but the petrol station's the nearest one, so, Anyway. He waited in one day. Man never came. And he phoned them up and they went, oh, didn't they come? And he kind of went, no. And it said, oh, well, they came and you weren't in. And he went, I was in all day, and his house is tiny. And so, you know, he's like 2 foot from the front door, so there's no way he missed it. And he's got cameras, because, well, he'd bought other cameras by then. And so he was looking for them, and they never came. Anyway, they did this like 3 times, and you know, Amazon said, no, we've arranged for them to come, they're coming. They didn't come. And he got a thing from Amazon, thank you very much for returning your items. He still had them. I never have that luck. I'm the girl that I could buy a single pin at, 75p or something, right? And then, let's say it came bent, or it was blunt, or it was broken, and, Amazon would go, can you return that, please? I have to return everything. I had a that's not quite true. Quite recently, when I ordered a bottle of PVA glue, it arrived smashed. I don't know quite how they achieved it, because it's a rubbery bottle, but basically the top had been ripped clean off. And it was, while it was in a kind of plastic bag, the inside of the plastic bag was just full of PVA glue. It was like half a litre of the stuff. It was everywhere. And I phoned up and I kind of did no, I'm not returning this. Well, why not? Because it's a big pile of soggy PVA glue. Oh. Well, and I kind of went, I'm not sending you half a litre of PVA glue in the post without a bottle holding it in, right? And the guy did laugh and he went, yeah, I see your point. But his instructions were I had to send it back, even though I'd reported it as smashed and damaged and, leaking everywhere. His instructions on the screen were I was supposed to return it. I, of course, immediately ordered a replacement bottle, which I knew I would do, but he sent me my replacement. He was very helpful. But most of them, you've got to return it, and then they've got to have got it, and it'll be like 2 weeks before you get your money back, so you can't order a new one yet, because you haven't got the money for it. And when I first got this monitor, I bought a hydraulic stand for it. I say it's a hydraulic stand, it's not entirely, but I bought a swingy arm for it, so my monitor can do flappy things, right? So I can lift it up and I can put it down and I can, swing it out the way or bring it a bit closer. And it didn't fit. It said it fit because they sold it as a pair, but it didn't actually fit. You needed an extra contraption. So I sent it back. That was a pain in the ass because it was really heavy. So I had to send that back. I've always had to send my stuff back. He basically never sends anything back. And it's kind of like, he reports it as crap, and he doesn't have to send them back. I report something as crap, and, I swear, if it was an empty, if it was one single empty paper bag, I would have to send that back. There doesn't seem to be logic in it. So I like my Amazon, but I do get frustrated with especially my favourite ones are the click now to buy to have tomorrow. Click. That'll be 3 weeks. You said tomorrow. I clicked because you said tomorrow. I get quite a lot of that. In fact, one of the glues, I think it was the Pritt stick, was due to arrive. Yes, should, according to the click now to buy to get tomorrow. But then, as you click, it will say you will get this by this date, but you never take a screen print. And then in the email, it's 2 days later, 3 days later. It's not next day anymore. So yeah, feeling a little bit sorry for myself this week, but never mind. It's Friday tomorrow. We like Friday. So I'm hoping to stay. The plan today is that I will stay doing this as long as I can. Because obviously I need to go to bed at some point, but it's coming up to 10 o'clock. But I will not upload this to YouTube tonight. I will upload it tomorrow morning. Because that way I make up the fact that I didn't start till late. But it also means I get a fair bit of this done. That's the plan. This square always seems to take me forever. I don't know what it is about this square, but it does seem to take me forever. So I'm kind of aware of that. But you know, I want to be kind of ready so that I'm hoping that come tomorrow's stream, which obviously is during the daytime, that I will be in a position to finish said triangle tomorrow. That's my plan. Whether it happens or not, I'll find out when I get there, I guess. But that would be my hope, that I can do enough today and tomorrow that we finish the triangle. Because that's always a nice thing. And then, hopefully, I can have wound some bobbins to try my flanders thing. Now, I need to check and do a bit more research on the actual thread that I'm going to use, because I need to make sure it's not too fat or too thin, otherwise it just looks silly. Thinner is better than too fat, for sure. And I have a selection of threads, so hopefully I have sufficient thread to do it in, and preferably a stupid colour. Yeah, just to be a bit different. I would like to do that. And if I can do an hour of it in work's time, all the better. We shall see if they let me do that. As I say, I have no idea, but you know, if you're allowed to read a book or go for a walk, I can't see them arguing about learning a new lace technique. So, so yes. I forgot to do one on the last row. Oh, I'll have to go back and do that now. Because this is that sad. Right. You and you need a coming together to make the square that I forgot. Yes. That's 2 pins, not 1. Now I take you four and merge you with the ones that we had finished a mere moment ago to make them the bottom square. Right, so you go in a stick. Stick. How am I a stick short? I suppose it's because they go in there. Okay. And then you go in here. Right. So, let's go and now, do I do this bit and this bit, or this bit? Well, actually, this bit and this bit, or that bit and that bit. It's 10 o'clock. I reckon we do this bottom bit. Because, quite simply, then these bobbins are done for this particular triangle. Like this bottom pile of bobbins are done. If I do these bits, these are all done. I can push all those pins down, push it out of the way, and it's proper done. So let's done. And here we must remember to twist the pairs. Wow, dog, you smell. One of you smells. That smell is not mine. It's enough to make my eyes bleed. My nose is offended. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That is a horrible smell, dog. Would ask what you've been eating, but hopefully the answer's only the dog food I provided. So, but it doesn't smell like it. There are dead things up there, dog. Which would be why my hall smelled earlier, because one of you will have farted in the hallway, because that was paint stripping stuff. That was. Itchy nose, itchy nose. because once I've done these sections I can push all of this down. I mean, I can push some of it down now, but I'll push it down and it'll all be out the way. Dear Mr. Paws, am I sitting on my couch? Grumpy dog. 5. It doesn't look it. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. But it is. One, two, three, four, five. One of you goes in here. Now it's the 5 of you go in the stick. Right, let's put you there, and we need you. You are absolutely out of it. You are elite rounds. There you go. Oh, you mean these kind of these thick bands here? Um. So. Right. Okay. Wherever the spot is. So let me zoom in a bit to explain this a tad more sensibly. I'll move it over a bit. Hang on. Right. So, at this very point in time, there are arguably 2 pins I can work. One, this tiny dot here. She says, moving her finger a bit. That tiny dot. And one underneath all of these strings here. I cannot continue this solid piece round because the ones that come in from the side have to be fed by this area here. So I must have completed this area before I can take, because this solid bit turns, the solid bits as you see on the thing, right? So for it to turn the corner, I have to have, I mean, I could do a row of this and bring it down, a row of this and bring it down, a row of this and bring it down. I can work it in more of one piece. So in theory, so for example, you could either work diagonally this way or diagonally that way. Matters not which way you go, but to work any pin. So if I pick, where's a poking device? Where's my stabbing poking device? It's not where I would normally keep it. There it is. Right. I want my stabbing poking device because it's got a really sharp needle on the end. Look, right? So, if to work this pinhole here, I must have done this pinhole and this pinhole because they diagonally come and meet at that hole. So, any pinhole on here, the same's true with this one. I must have worked this pinhole and I must have worked this pinhole. So you have to work, you can only work in a certain order. You can't, I mean, once I've done like this bit, I can do this bit. I can then do either this section or that section. Once I've done that section, I can either do that section or then that section if I didn't do it first. Once I've done that section, I can't do this section until I've gone across the bit, she says, moving some strings, the solid bit that comes under here. So hence realistically every time you see me work through one of these triangles, it's kind of the same order. There are places where you have choices. So for example, when I first started this triangle, I could do this section up here, the ground, this cloth bit, this rose ground, this cloth bit, and work all the way down to the bottom. But I can only go as far this way as where this cloth stitch is until I've done this cloth stitch. I can only go as far in this rose ground until I've done this all the way to the edge, and I can do this bit once I've completed this because this section above gives me all the pins to do that one. I can't, for example, once I've done all of this, obviously I can do that, but I can't do that bit before I've done the pins that feed it in. But I can, for example, do all of this rose ground and then this cloth stitch, but not have done this bit because this bit doesn't affect that bit. So if you think about it, it works more at that angle. So you work in rows, so you can work down. So like I'm doing now, I have a choice, for example, to work across or down, but basically I can only do one of the two. I can't, I mean, I can do that one, and then that one and that one, and then that one, and then that one and that one and that one. But no right-minded individual would. You tend to work in rows or columns, right? And so there is, sadly, an order to the chaos. And in some ways it's quite restrictive because depending on the pattern you're doing, if you, for example, didn't have the different stitch chunks, you can still do a patch of this, a patch of that, but it's much harder to keep track of. Obviously, having done this cloth stitch section here, this bit is then the width of that, because obviously this goes down the side of it. So I can then either choose to do the whole of it, or as I did before, which was stop at the bottom where the cloth stitch bit goes, because I don't need to do that bit yet. I can do it later. So you can break it up, but it is often easier to do. This bit is the only bit I find I want to break up, because I can do this bit, and then this bit in, well, obviously not quite in any order, but I can do this bit and then do the whole kind of thing all the way down to, you know, this cloth stitch bit across here, and then come back and do, say, all the way across. Or I can work this down to a corner, have all my bobbins on the pillow, and then I can get rid of my torture contraption that holds the bobbins, which is a good thing, which is why I did it. But I didn't need to do that bit yet. I still don't need to have done that bit yet. It was just convenient to get all the bobbins on the pillow. So I could arguably not have this chunk, this 25 pin chunk here. Now I'm filling in this bit. I probably will then do the cloth bit at the end before coming back and doing this ground section up here. Well, the cloth bit, the ground bit, the cloth bit. Depending on what time I finish and how well this goes, I might do the cloth bit tonight. It depends. I mean, obviously I want to do as much as I can, but it is one of those kind of bits is that you almost don't have a choice in the order of which it's done, because, well, if you've either got the bit to work it or you haven't, which is why I got annoyed about those videos where she skipped bits and you know she's done it wrong, and they don't say, by the way, you know, there's no little note saying, yes, we're aware this is wrong, you should do this bit first, because as a beginner tutorial, not all beginners are going to know that if, for example, I tried to start doing these, well, I won't have the right bobbins. That's okay. There's always tomorrow. There's always another day. You know I'm going to be here for months to come yet. So, you know. And I got the fact that that this was not answering the question. So that's fine. But yes, there's always another day. As you know, I'm going to be here for months yet. So, you know. No rush. You can always ask another day. But thanks for coming. Take care, Naughty Cat. Thanks for coming and keeping me company. I appreciate that. Makes me happy. Yeah, take care, mister. are done for this triangle. I don't need you till next time. You go over there. So what I will do is push some of these down because, well, why not? Yeah, pulling the pins out at the end of this is going to be evil. But I do think it might be worth it. We shall see. If it's not worth it, we won't do it for the next square, that's for sure. Right, you are also enough and done for. So we will make you a bit longer so that you could be out of the way better. Pop that on there, so that's the thing. We can push down a lot of these extra pins. Should use my pusher thing, not my finger. By the way, has anyone else noticed, of course, that I'm not bending pins anything like I used to now? I'm not using the extra thin, flimsy ones. Jesus, dog, what have you been doing? You smell. What's that? 1, 2, 5. 3, 4, 5. Yes, it does. Okay. You two go in here. Right. You two can come back around here, where you need to be for next time. Not over those pins, thank you. Let's push this down, guess what? That's always a thing. Right. So, now we need to make a bit of room for the vision. Take a picture. As I said earlier, we will be hopefully finishing this tomorrow, so we've got this section to do tomorrow. I mean, it's quite a big section, but these two ground stitches tend to disappear quite quick, as do obviously the cloth stitch here. So the only one that can take a little bit more time is this bit, so we should be good for tomorrow. But I will not be uploading the video tonight, so for those who have missed it, I'm sorry. You'll have to wait till tomorrow. I will, because I need to go to bed. It's 11:10 and I haven't eaten yet, so I need to do food. I will start the upload tonight, so while I'm still up, it will do as much as it can. But I've been streaming for what, 3 hours. I really doubt it'll be done before I'm gone to bed with my crappy internet. So sadly, that is the way it will be. So yes, I shall see you tomorrow. Take care, everybody, and thank you for coming.